Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and guys, I want to thank you guys so much that we're over 5,000, we're at 5,100 subscribers, and the channel's still growing, and this is all thanks to you guys, and I can't believe how far this has come, and I truly hope to see this channel grow bigger, and hopefully, things can get bigger and I can make better content. Of course, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below ways that I can improve this or things that you guys would love to see or hear. Now, today I want to thank Fox because they sent me out the Linky87. So if you remember, I did the Linky75, which is a really budget aluminum keyboard. Now this one is an 87, so TKL, and it's actually a plastic board. So let's go straight into the unboxing, and please make sure to like and subscribe. Now, starting off with the unboxing of the Linky87, thank you again to Fox for sending me this out. Now, as we open this box, as you can see here, this box is a very bare minimum box. You're getting a bare minimum cable, right? It's a very simple cable, not braided, not coiled, just a very simple, rubber cable. You're going to get some extra switches, which is nice. They actually look almost identical to the Eppomaker Zebra switches, so we're going to have to keep them in mind in the future. You also get a switch puller and a keycap puller, so you are getting the bare minimum things like you should get in a box with a keyboard, right? Some companies out there for more pricier boards don't even give you extra switches. Now you do also get this manual. I was just taking a look to see if it also had like the low latency mode like the Linky75, but this one does not have that. So you do get a manual though with all the function shortcuts, which is nice. Now let's take a look at the board. So this is the Linky87. It is a decently made plastic, right? It's not like super high quality plastic, but decent. You do get these angles, and you see here you get the USB dongle. So this is something that's really nice to have in this board. Now, of course, we're gonna have to weigh it before we do the sound test. So let's quickly weigh this board to see how heavy it is, and then let's hear this board. So this weighs about 980 grams. Now that we've done the sound test, let's do the teardown. So one thing I want to show you guys here, there is a bit of a thing that I noticed is that when you pull out these switches, or the keycaps, sorry, these switches come off with the with the keycaps, which is not amazing. It just means that these switches are quite loose and don't fit well with the plate. Now, as you can see there, this is a flex cut plate. So this board is flex cut. So for those that don't like it, a flex cut board, keep in mind that this one is going to be flex cut. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, these switches really look pretty much identical to the Eppomaker Zebra switches. And you can see there as well, the switch came out when I pulled off the spacebar. Now, as you can see here, these are plate mounted stabilizers. So it's not going to be your like screw-in stabilizers, just a plate mounted stabilizer. They do come slightly lubed. So that's something I did notice. And I did feel that there wasn't really much tinging with this board in terms of the stabilizers, which is really well done, right? We have to consider that for the price, very well done for this board where the stabilizers aren't tinging. Now, as you can see here, I have my special tool that I'm going to be going into the like small sides where there is a bit of space to get the latches off to remove the top casing. Now this is a plastic top casing. It's gasket mounted, right? And as you can see here, the sides are about 2.4 millimeters in terms of the thickness, so not super thin and decently thick in terms of the case itself. Now, as we look at the bottom here, we can definitely take a look to see what's inside. Now, you can see here, this PCB is actually flex cut. Sorry, let me just quickly focus the camera for you guys. And as you can see here, this PCB is flex cut. You can actually see the cuts on the PCB. So you're getting a flex cut plate and a flex cut PCB. Now, the plate itself is 1.2 millimeters. So for those out there that don't like the 1.2, I'm sorry, this one is 1.2 millimeters. And same thing goes for the PCB. So both of them are going to be at the 1.2 millimeters in terms of thickness for both PCB and the PC plate. So it is a PC plate. Now, one thing I noticed with this is the nubs that are going on the actual plate, the mounting for, reducing the vibrations in the board is actually quite interesting. It's a brick pretty much. Right, like they look squarish and they go in to these sides right there. It's actually not the corners, but you can see how there's those round shapes like pillars that are coming up. It actually goes right into that. Now, as you saw there was that just a piece of foam underneath the PCB. You actually don't get any other foam on top of that, and then you get a foam in between the plate and the PCB. Now, of course, we're going to have to open this up to take a look to see what this is, because you can see the batteries are underneath there, and I realized that they actually have this plastic piece that is covering the battery underneath. Quite interesting to see that there's two layers to this. So you have a really thin bottom layer right there with the battery, which is 4,000 milliamp hours. Yeah, you don't get 8,000, which is interesting, right? They do have the space for 8,000, but it's only 4,000 in this one. They put a styrofoam foam in the empty space, which is nice. Now, of course, we're going to have to mod this board. I'm just going to do a 2-layer tape mod. I think that's the simplest thing we can do. And then I'll show you guys what it sounds like after. So as I was saying, 2 layers, and then we're going to mod the spacebar with some tape. I felt that the spacebar actually didn't sound bad, but 1-layer tape will help with the hollow sound. And then, of course, I'm going to give you guys a sound test of this modded board. Now, we've done the unboxing, we've done the teardown, we've done the sound test, we've done the modding sound test, and I gotta admit that this thing sounds really thocky. Like, I was quite impressed with how this sounds, and you really don't have to mod this that much. So, of course, we're gonna have to go into, doing a little bit more of an in-depth look, right? Doing a review and checking out the site as well as the actual software, which is VIA supported, which is really great. And I'd love to see that in a board. So let's go straight into that. Now, going in more depth with this board in terms of, taking a look at it. We have a switch on the top for Bluetooth and 2.4. So if you do one tick, you get the Bluetooth, and then move it all the way to the end, you get 2.4. And as you guys saw, the USB dongle was having a spot in the actual board itself. And you can see there's a little bit of RGB light up. I'll show you that a bit later. You also have a switch for Windows and Mac. Now, that's pretty impressive when you think about it, right? For a plastic board that is really budget, you're getting all the extra switches on the sides where it's very easy to use and make the switches. Now, as you can see there with the different angles, you also get that USB dongle spot right underneath one of the angles, which is really nice. The feet, you are able to have a USB dongle spot in this board, which is awesome. Now, in terms of the plastic quality of this board, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not the highest quality. It does feel decent, but I'm gonna be honest, the Vibe 75 I think has a better plastic build in general, and this kind of feels more closer to like the Epomaker F65. Now, one thing I'm trying to show you guys is that the switch is loose on here, so this is a con if you're someone that wants to change the keycaps out, or removing the keycaps often. This is something that you're going to deal with where the switches come out, so not the greatest for this board. Now, one thing I noticed with this switch, right, this is a box stem switch. It looks identical to the Epomaker Zebra switch, and as you can see here, you really get almost no stem wobble with this. Even on the top end, you're getting very, very little vibration, which is really nice because for those that are more sensitive to stem wobble, you wouldn't want your keys to move on the switches. And thanks to the box stem switch, it is great in terms of stem wobble. Like, you're getting almost none. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, right, this is the Epomaker Zebra switch. You can see how they pretty much look identical. Like, I mean identical. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a sound test to hear the difference between the two. Could you guys tell which one was which? The first one was the Inky TKL switch, and the second was the Epomaker Zebra switch. They sound identical, meaning these are technically the Epomaker Zebra switches, just without the Epomaker logo on them. I'm assuming that they got it from the same manufacturer, which is why they look the same and sound the exact same. Now, this board is really thocky, right? You're getting an incredibly thocky board on this build. It is quite nice. It is quite thick though. So let me show you guys the measurement of how thick this case is. So for those out there that don't like a really high angled board, this might not be for you. It is 20 millimeters on the front end. So like 20, 21 around there, and the back end is going to be 33.5. And just keep in mind that my measurement might be off by like 0.1 or by like a millimeter. Now, with the angle there, you can see it is super, super high. Like, you are going to have wrist pain if you don't use a wrist rest on this board. Now, I do want to give you guys a look at the backlighting of this board because, as I was saying, this is a Zebra switch one, and they're not great for backlighting. Now, as you can see, the lighting here is really dim. When you have the board in person, it's going to be brighter than what you see on my camera. Please keep in mind that when I'm doing lighting tests on a camera, how it catches the light is going to be different than how human eyes catch it. But the backlight and everything, it is quite dim, and unfortunately for those that like backlighting, it's not going to work for you. Now, going to the site, this board right now on Elecfox's website is 40 USD, 39 USD, but I'm just rounding up for 40 USD. That's an incredible price for this board. This thing is with 4,000 milliamp hour battery. It has super nice sounding switches in this board. Like, the build has a thocky sound to it, and as you can see, they give you also these warnings, so don't let your battery drain. And I think Elecfox is doing an amazing job in building boards that are supposed to be really affordable, like much more budget compared to all the other competitors out there. I'm actually surprised not a lot of people have actually talked about Elecfox. If you're out there looking for a budget board, you should definitely go look at their website. They have really affordable stuff. Now, going in, I want to show you guys something really special about this board. This board for 40 USD has VIA support. So we're going to download the JSON file and let me show you what it looks like in VIA. Now, you just have to import your JSON file, load it up in the designer tab, and boom, you have it connected. This is amazing, right? You're considering the price. Why is it there's going to be boards out there that are more expensive that don't have VIA support and then have mediocre software? This is pretty much a way to show other companies to say, hey, even though your boards are like $100, $120, $150, or $200, and you have mediocre software, you really shouldn't. You should go with what works best, which is VIA. VIA, and
QMK is something that they should really look into using a lot more. And let me show you one thing else in terms of keyboard inspector is that this board also has 1,000 polling rate. That means you have this for gaming. 1,000 polling rate is more than enough for your day-to-day video gaming. And I tried this on Apex and it works well. And I even use this at work and it works incredibly well as well. In total, for 39 USD, right, you're getting an incredible package for this type of keyboard, especially for those out there that really wanted a nice sounding Thock keyboard and didn't want to spend like 80, 90, or $100. Definitely go take a look at this board. I'll have the links in the description.
In total, with the Linky87, you guys are going to have the links in the description, as I was mentioning. This thing is an incredibly budget board that you should go take a look at. If you're looking for something thocky that is not an aluminum heavy, case, and you're wanting something that's a little bit more lighter with like a plastic case that is actually a pretty decent plastic with a lot of lighting around it, like a lot of RGB around the sides, definitely go take a look at this board, right? For 40 USD, this is an incredible deal, especially when you're getting like a full mechanical keyboard with a Thock that comes from this board. So go check it out. Seriously, really impressed, and the fact that they're making such budget boards for like that kind of price is really impressive. So of course, go check out the other videos they got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.